Lyra had been tracking the ancient map fragment for 3 years, following clues scrawled on decaying parchment and whispered in the shadowed corners of forgotten libraries. Her journey was fueled by a singular, desperate goal: to find the legendary Glade of Whispering Moss, a place said to heal the spirit and restore lost magic. She was a hedge witch, her powers dwindling to mere sparks after an unfortunate encounter with a cursed artifact, and this glade was her last hope for survival. The final clue led her to the base of the silent peaks, where the air thinned and the pine trees twisted into unnatural shapes, guarding the entrance to the magical realm. After days of fruitless searching, guided only by the feeling of cold, familiar magic, she finally stumbled upon a fissure hidden beneath a cascade of moon-kissed ivy. The air immediately changed. The mundane scent of earth gave way to the sharp, sweet smell of cinnamon and rain. Taking a deep breath, Lyra pushed through the foliage, stepping over the threshold that separated the mortal world from the secret hideaway. She found herself in a place that defied logic and light: the hidden glade. It was twilight eternally here, illuminated by giant bioluminescent fungi and the soft glow of a turquoise stream. The trees, tall and silver-barked, wept leaves of shimmering glass, which tinkled like distant bells as they fell. Lyra dropped her pack, tears blurring her vision as the sheer density of potent, restoring magic washed over her, making the tired sparks in her soul ignite with a hopeful warmth. Intruder. The voice was like the rasp of silk against stone, deep and immediate, cutting through the ethereal music of the glade. A figure materialized from the shadows of a massive willow-like tree, its branches covered in glowing purple moss. This was Phelan, the glade's guardian, and he was breathtakingly non-human. He wore leather and leaves, and his hair, the color of moonlight, cascaded over angular, high cheekbones. His eyes, however, were the most arresting feature. They were a brilliant, crystalline emerald, ancient and piercingly suspicious. "State your intent, mortal." "No one finds the heart of the Whisperwood by accident," Phelan demanded, his tone offering no welcome. Lyra quickly composed herself, kneeling slightly. "Lyra, I sought this place to heal a deep magical wound. I mean no harm to the glade." Phelan's gaze swept over her, assessing the frailty beneath her determined facade. He noted the faint silvery scar on her left wrista, mark of corrupted power. "The magic here is not for simple healing. It is the lifeblood of this realm," he stated, stepping closer, his presence radiating a wild, untamed energy. "I require only a sliver of its restoration." "1 week," Lyra pleaded, looking up at him. "Give me 7 days to absorb enough to mend myself, and I will leave without a trace." Phelan hesitated. No human had entered in centuries, and to allow one to stay was an incredible risk to the delicate balance of the secret hideaway. 1 week, Phelan finally conceded, his emerald eyes sharp. "But you will remain under my direct supervision. You will not touch the glimmering pool, nor approach the root of ages." "Agreed," Lyra said, standing quickly, a surge of adrenaline replacing her exhaustion. "You have my word. Words mean little to my kind," which he scoffed. "But the sanctity of the glade is my bond. Break your promise, and you will become part of the Whisperwood's earth." Day 1. The glade felt overwhelming. Lyra spent the morning simply breathing, watching the tiny, shimmering insects that looked like flying diamonds. Phelan was a constant, silent sentinel. He moved like smoke, appearing whenever her curiosity threatened to lead her too far from the central clearing. He commanded her to sit near the turquoise stream, explaining that the water's song was as healing as its properties. "The magic is absorbed through stillness, not force," Phelan instructed, sitting opposite her with the relaxed, ready posture of a lion. Lyra found his proximity distracting. It was beautiful in an inhuman way, the symmetry of his face slightly too perfect, his movements entirely without hesitation. Day 2. Phelan allowed her a brief, supervised excursion into the Whisperwood. The trees here seemed to sigh, their silver leaves holding memories. Lyra asked him about the glade's history, about his role as guardian. He answered in cryptic half-truths, maintaining his distance. "Why do you distrust us so much?" she asked finally, frustrated by his coldness. Phelan stopped, pointing to a patch of darkened moss. 1,000 years ago, a mortal stole the glade's protective shard. It cost us a century of silence to recover. "My intentions are pure," Lyra insisted. I need my magic back to save my village from a shadow curse. This isn't for greed. He looked at Lyra, his expression softening fractionally. Tell me of this shadow curse. What is your true debt? Lyra hesitated, then explained the full terrible truth of her failing powers and the slow consumption of her home by an encroaching darkness. Day 3. The revelation shifted the dynamic. Phelan saw the true desperation behind her quest, recognizing a duty akin to his own. He led her to a hidden cave behind the cascade, where the rock walls pulsed with soft, rhythmic light, the true heart of the Glade's power. This is the healing nexus, he explained. You may sit here, but do not touch the pulsing stone. Breathe. Let the magic find you. As Lyra meditated, she felt Phelan's eyes on her, but the scrutiny no longer felt hostile. It felt protective, a fierce shield against the world. When she opened her eyes, she noticed the silver charm she wore had started to glow faintly, an echo of the Glade's increasing influence. Phelan was sketching her in the dirt with a silver twig, capturing the concentration on her face with unnerving accuracy. You observe humans as intensely as I observe the movements of the Glade's protective wards, she observed, a slight smile playing on her lips. He stared at the ground he'd been drawing on, then rubbed the sketch away with his foot. I simply learned the nature of threats. You are a complicated threat, Day 4. They spent the morning near the glimmering pool, its surface reflecting the eternal twilight in impossible colors. Phelan spoke not of the Glade, but of himself. He confessed his loneliness, the crushing weight of guarding a secret for millennia. My species chose solitude to preserve this perfection, he said, gesturing around the vibrant, untouched landscape. But perfection is a cold companion, Lyra responded by sharing her simple life. The joy of a successful spell, the warmth of human community, the messy imperfection of feeling. They found a surprising resonance in their shared sense of duty and burden, realizing they were both caretakers of something larger than themselves. Day 5. The emotional distance had vanished. There was a palpable electrical tension between them now, like static before a storm. Phelan's commands became less about observation and more about shared experience. Command: teach me a human song. Lyra taught him a simple folk tune about traveling and finding a home. Phelan's voice, though inherently deep, adapted with an unnatural, beautiful accuracy.
Ira.
Noticed the tiny leaf-like patterns in his emerald eyes when he laughed, a rare, startling sound. Later, they explored the crystal cave, where formations of quartz hummed with latent power. Phelan took her hand, navigating the dark paths. His touch sent a tremor of pure longing through her. She was immortal, he was Phi, and they were quickly crossing a boundary that should have remained sacred. Phelan stopped, pinning her against the cool quartz wall. His breathing was rapid, the guard crumbling under the weight of his own growing desire. You are running out of time, he warned, his voice low and husky. The contract ends in 48 hours, and this connection. It cannot be contained. Lyra met his gaze, unafraid. Then stop observing and start participating, Guardian. This is not a study. It is a choice. He kissed her. The kiss was not soft, but demanding, a sudden, wild burst of energy that mirrored the untamed magic of the Glade itself. It was a merging of realms, a dangerous, thrilling acknowledgement of their impossible bond, sealed within the secret heart of the magical place. Day 6. The Glade seemed to react to their shared intimacy. The glow of the fungi was brighter, the stream's song more resonant. Lyra's magic had noticeably returned, her sparks now vibrant, strong flames. Her healing was nearly complete. Phelan, however, was preoccupied. He had sensed a disturbance near the perimeter, a faint trace of the same corruption Lyra had spoken of. The shadow curse was encroaching, drawn by the sudden, intense burst of pure magic being shared and amplified within the Glade. The balance is fragile, Phelan explained grimly, leading her toward the edge of the Whisperwood. Your village's darkness is hungry, and it smells the light here. They spent the day setting up protective wards along the perimeter, Lyra using her newly restored hedge magic to reinforce Phelan's powerful, ancient Phi spells. They worked as a true partnership, their combined magic flowing seamlessly, testament to their deep, week-long connection. At sunset, the threat receded, but the cost was clear. The Glade was no longer fully hidden. Their bond had exposed the secret hideaway. Day 7. The choice. The final morning arrived, and the magic was strong, the air charged, but the deadline weighed heavily on them both. Lyra stood ready, her pack now light, her mission successfully accomplished. The price was paid, the debt fulfilled. Phelan appeared, his face unreadable, his emerald eyes shadowed by conflicting emotions. He carried a small, silver-bound box. "Your week is over, Lyra," he stated, his voice flat, devoid of the warmth she had grown accustomed to. "You must leave now, as promised." The command was sharp, an order of the guardian, not a plea of the lover. Lyra felt a devastating sense of loss. She knew she had to save her village, but leaving Phelan in the glade felt like tearing away a part of her soul. "I will not break my word," she whispered, turning toward the fissure. "But know that I will never forget this place, or you." Phelan stepped in front of her, blocking the exit. "Your word is not enough." He opened the silver box, revealing a simple, leaf-shaped brooch carved from the same silver-barked wood of the Glade's trees. "If you leave, this connection will shatter. The Glade will retreat, and I will be alone once more," he confessed, his voice laced with rare vulnerability. "I cannot stay, Phelan," she cried, gesturing back towards the Glade. "My people need me. I cannot abandon them." Phelan nodded, understanding. "You must go. But the Glade must remain protected. And I cannot do it alone now that it has been exposed." He stepped closer and pinned the brooch to her cloak. "This is a new contract. It's a bond of the Glade itself. Take the magic you need to save your village," Phelan instructed. "But you must return. You are the only one who knows the Glade's new weakness, its affection for the human world." He placed his hands on her shoulders, his gaze intensely loving. "My duty is here. Your duty calls you home. Ow! Fulfill your debt, and then return to me, where your life is now tethered to mine." A sentinel of two realms, Lyra realized, recognizing the brilliant compromise. She could be the bridge between the two worlds. She took the final step through the fissure, the Glade's magic surging through her, preparing her for the battle ahead. Phelan watched her go, the sorrow in his eyes quickly replaced by a fierce, determined loyalty. Lyra emerged onto the silent peaks, the harsh light of the mortal sun momentarily blinding her, but the silver brooch on her cloak shimmered with Glade light, guiding her way. Her mission was no longer just about healing herself. It was about ensuring the Glade's survival and her reunion with Phelan. She knew the work would be hard, but she carried the strength of the magical place and the promise of its guardian within her. A year passed in the mortal realm. Lyra, with her restored magic, drove back the shadow curse and revitalized her village. The village was safe, the debt to her people paid in full. Now only one promise remained. She stood once more before the familiar cascade, the ivy parting easily at the touch of her Glade-tethered magic. Stepping back over the threshold, she entered the eternal twilight, breathing in the scent of cinnamon and rain. Phelan was waiting for her, standing by the turquoise stream, no longer the aloof guardian, but the expectant lover. He smiled, a genuine, joyful smile that lit up the Glade more brightly than any fungi. "Welcome home, my human sentinel." He walked to her, placing his forehead gently against hers. The week of observation had ended, giving rise to an eternity of shared duty and love. The hidden Glade had not just healed her magic, it had healed his heart, proving that even the most perfect of secret hideaways needs a touch of human connection. Thank you for watching A Week in the Hidden Glade. What magical place would you choose to spend 7 days in? Let us know in the comments below. Comment, like, share, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio.